they're not aware of their emotions, and therefore don't resort to the right problem-solving skills, if you like. But at the same time, I think somebody who is very controlling and is an abuser in a relationship will not be able, you won't be able to, the woman or the victim will not be able to communicate with that person, because that person will always want to take that control. So I think communication is really, I don't know what I want to say. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah. No, honestly, you're making sense.
I think just when you've got somebody very controlling, to say to them, you need to work on your communication skills, it's not going to happen.
No.
Because they ultimately want that control. So if you've got a really manipulative perpetrator, they're quite good at communicating and doing that. But then equally, it's not good on the other hand, because you're trying to make them a better, if you like, empathetic, and be more aware of emotions, and that comes into communication skills, doesn't it? So
yeah.
If you understand what I mean.
I do. And then just a couple of partner-link workers have spoken about sort of like in modern day times the impact of like social media, the impact of like WhatsApp and tracking and things like that. Do you think that sort of the law has kept up enough with what's sort of happening in relation to like social media and stalking and things like that?
Yeah, I think local services like domestic abuse services, support for victims do recognise that, and it's a big thing at the minute. Looking into social media, doing a lot with young people and in schools to recognise the signs and symptoms, obviously on social media forums. So I know that, but it's in its early stages. I think for women that I go and see, they're usually not under, school. They're not school age, and I think they don't recognise maybe that manipulation, stalking, harassment on social media forums. If there isn't that threat of violence, and it's more harassment or stalking, but there isn't a threat, but it makes them feel uncomfortable, a lot of women I see will not realise actually that is a breach. It's a breach of a restraining order if that person's been told not to do something, not to contact, but they do certain things in a certain way on social media. Do you know what I mean? I think the police will use that in evidence as well. So I do think it is, people are becoming more aware. The tracking things, again, is a real issue. I think it's a worry, isn't it? It's a real worry. It puts people at great risk. And everybody wants to be on these all these apps and things like that. And with the tracking thing, the women don't even know, the victims don't know necessarily that they've been added on this and they're being tracked or followed. Yeah. So it's hard for them to identify and workers to identify. Yeah. So it's a difficult one. I think it's really worrying with social media when you're in an abusive relationship.
Okay. And then This is sort of looking at sort of your roles and responsibilities. So what domestic abuse interventions have you been involved in? Have you been involved with or have knowledge of? There's BBR.
Health's just coming on to... we've not actually had a group running yet, but that's coming soon to Hull. I know that Maureen's been doing it in Scarborough, but we've not been doing it yet. But I've had lots of referrals through for help. I think that's going to be a big catchment of people doing that. And I've been involved in like the Brave programme, but that's more, it's not outside this agency. That's that's a women's group that runs through, have you heard of IDVAS? And we have DAP, it's a domestic abuse service attached to the police in Hull, and they run that programme for women. So that's what I've been involved in. Okay.
And then sort of summarise your sort of main roles, responsibilities as a partner link worker, or just talk me through like a day in the life of a typical
chaos. No. What do you mean, from referral point or
from sort of what would you do on like a sort of daily basis? Or
visit women, risk assess, build upon safety plans, existing safety plans, or do safety plans with the woman. I'd complete a SARA with them, which is also done on... Are you aware of SARAs?
Yes.
Yes. That will be done on the woman. Ask questions about them, partners or ex-partners' behaviours. We look at doing referrals, signposting women on for support, liaise with social services, speak to the probation officer, keep linked in with the probation officer, and complete a report after that meeting so that risk safeguarding is highlighted. We inform them about the programme that the man's going on and what contact we'll have, and if the woman wants more contact, or what we provide, really, our service to them. Inform them that they will be able to contact me and ask questions about the programme. If they've got any concerns, that those will be passed on in a confidential way. Talk about... after that, usually then we would look at attending BBR meetings. So we'd attend with the treatment manager, other key workers, facilitators on the group, and discuss any concerns or risk in regards to that woman, what she's been telling, so that in the meeting that they've got the balanced view, if you like, of what's going on for the man and what's going on for the victim. And then we look at passing obviously those on to the probation officer so that the supervised, hopefully managed to look at risk. So,
and then what sort of definition of domestic abuse do you apply sort of as a partner link worker? Is there...
What do you mean?
Do you use like the official government definition, or is there a definition of domestic abuse that is specifically you'd use as a partner link worker?
Well, what do you mean when I go and see a woman, or just generally?
Just generally, yeah.
I think we use the government one, the women's aid definition.
Yeah. Okay.
And then obviously, I think when you do go and meet a woman and they don't recognise or identify certain behaviours, you'll discuss and talk about that.
Okay.
So that generates a discussion. We also have these assessment tools which look at controlling violence and injury when we're going to see a woman, and that will just list different behaviours. So if they can't identify actually he's being emotionally abusive or coercive or whatever, that will then lead on to discussion. So it'll look at sort of identifying what sort of is happening in that relationship, and you can talk about that then and expand on that. Okay.
And then, so how do female sort of ex-partners get referred to yourself?
That's from the probation officer.
Okay, so it comes directly from...
Or it can be CAFCAS, yeah.
Okay. And then, sort of typically, how many sort of female ex-partners do you currently work with at the moment?
They're on my caseload, but actually some may not get in touch till later on, so they're always there. But I'd say roughly, because did it say about every 3 months or something?
Yeah.
I think about 45 to 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that like manageable, or is that?
It is manageable, but then with help coming on board, I do notice a massive change that with the caseloads they're going to just really increase. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like there's not enough. I don't have time to go through my cases. I used to be able to just go through my cases and just check on everything, and I don't feel like that happens enough. So I guess maybe I don't feel as organised, if you know what I mean, and I think that maybe is because the caseloads are maybe too high.
Okay, and do you feel as though you've got the opportunity to go out and see the women?
I always make that priority.
Okay.
Yeah. But then actually, it's really good to have that time to go through and check on cases, because if you have a woman that's not engaged or said not engaged initially, but they wanted you to keep chasing them or give them information, then just to go through your caseload and check on them, and do you know what I mean?